Listen. Yo, Ronin radio on the mains, you get me? We connecting the whole chain, no delays, we're ahead of the game. This ain't just pixels, it's a digital frontier. Got the ecosystem locked in, crystal clear. Every single update, we're the first to bring it. Block by block, hear the community singing. Ronin radio, the new meta. Ronin radio. Stay connected. Listen. Yo, Ronin radio on the mains, you get me? We connecting the whole chain, no delays, we're ahead of the game. This ain't just pixels, it's a digital frontier. Got the ecosystem locked in, crystal clear. Every single update, we're the first to bring it. Block by block, hear the community singing. Ronin radio, the new meta. Ronin radio. Stay connected.
Oh, Caesar produced a gas thing. GM, everybody. What is good? What is good? Welcome. Come on in. Take a seat, because we're going to have a show tonight. Welcome to the Ronin Radio, boys and girls. My name is Gunlock, and bringing onto the stage my good friend, Mr. Stark, is your microphone. All right.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, there you go. That's a lot better than the garbage microphone that you had earlier.
Yeah, I'm on the move again. So
what is this? What is this portrait view?
Well, it'll have to do. I'm not touching anything.
All right, welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. We have a pretty special one tonight. We've got two people here who've been very active on Ronin Conversation over the last couple of weeks. First, we have Jihoz, the co-founder of Sky Mavis, and one of the people who has been, building Ronin from the very beginning. And alongside him is none other than Aurora, an OG in the space, who's been pretty vocal recently about where he thinks Ronin is heading, what needs to be improved, and where he thinks the biggest opportunities are. So today, we're basically putting these two perspectives in the same room and seeing where the conversation goes. Right?
Yeah, it's a banger show we've got ready for you guys, and I can't wait to get started.
All right, well, let's go ahead and bring them onto the stage because I am excited. I am excited to chat with these lads. Mr. Jeff, how is you? How is the aura look that you have right now, sir?
Aura farming Jihoz.
There you go.
How's it going, Jihoz?
Can you hear us fine?
Good to see you guys. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And Aurora, Mr. Orr, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, good morning. I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing
fantastic.
Good. All right, Jihoz, Orr, welcome to the Ronin Radio. And before we get into the heavy stuff here, I want to give you both a chance to, I guess, set the stage. And Jihoz, for anyone who's been, I guess, living under a rock and, wanting to know, where is Ronin right now? And what are you personally most focused on at this stage of the network?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the last couple of years, since a year and a half or so, it's been difficult, right? I mean, we had a moment with Pixels and, a few other builders actually performing well in the latter half of 2023, 2024. But I think where things really stalled out was teams came to Ronin, they got a nice boost from the existing user base, and we didn't really have anything that was able to recreate that magic of what Axie was able to do in 2021, including Axie, which was actually onboarding people to Web3 gaming from outside of the space, right? So a lot of teams came, they got some initial boost, but, aside from having the core Ronin community act as kind of a foundation for their communities, they were unable to kind of expand outside of this tight-knit Ronin kind of bubble, right? So that's where we are. And, we are going to, in order to kind of stop the bleeding and get back to our winning ways, we're going to have to see teams that are able to actually expand the pie rather than simply, right, making something for the current Ronin community, but not really being able to attract outsiders, right? And I think that's been the case for not just obviously Ronin, but the entire Web3 gaming space, is that it's been stagnant. There's been a lack of penetration and outside of the current ecosystem, right? And we're gonna have to see teams successfully be able to grow the pie, right? I think, I think there are two types of builders, right? It's like, there have been the well-intentioned builders that have just, for whatever reason, been unable to kind of penetrate outside of the bubble. And then there are those that have, right, I think much to the chagrin of the community, it's like they'll come, they're like, oh, nice, if I release an NFT collection or do a TG on Ronin, right, I'll be able to have at least some amount of a community.
Right.
And that's been kind of a vicious cycle. And I think, I think a lot of the malaise and a lot of the troubles that we've had have kind of been related to that dynamic.
Yeah, for sure. And or you've been pretty active talking about Ronin for a long time now, and you've obviously got a lot of conviction in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
But you're also been pretty willing to point out things you think could be better. But what has you paying so much attention to Ronin right now, though?
Hey, Jiho. Good to see your face. Good to hear you. So you mentioned kind of like that we're in our own little bubble, and just in my head, I'm wondering about how we can like expand that bubble, and I get that teams can have a role in that for sure, but I'm also wondering about like, just in my head, I envision kind of Ronin as an L2 over as kind of like an island separate from, like the even though we are an Ethereum L2, we're kind of, it feels like we have our own community, and I don't know, like it seems like a long boat ride for people to get over to the Ronin island in certain cases. So like I think about Ronin, the network, as the blockchain, and Ron as the token for the Ronin network. But I also think in my head about the possibility for a presence of the Ronin network beyond the Ronin network itself. So like, could the Ronin NFTs or coins or experiences exist on other blockchains as well? And could the current tool set, like the wallet and the DEX, be available to users beyond the Ronin blockchain itself? And that could be also used perhaps as like a recruitment tool or a way to reward people for using Ronin. So say games are cross-chain and they're available on multiple chains, like if they use the Ronin wallet or use the Ronin DEX, they could earn Ronin honor. So in my head, when I think about the possibilities and the way forward and the way to kind of build a bridge between the island of Ronin and the rest of the crypto ecosystem, I think about like, instead of Ronin network being just its own blockchain and strictly on the island, is it possible to start to build like infrastructure on other blockchains to kind of make that hop easier for users, and also, so say like a base user or a Solana user, they have money on Solana and they have money on base, and they're just used to being there every day and in that experience on that island. So instead of having to bridge assets to Ronin or whatever, like meet them where they are and kind of give them that Ronin experience without the friction. So I mean, is that something you all have thought about at all or considered? And do you see any like validity or potential in that idea? Or so I was just curious to hear what your thoughts were there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So I think there are kind of two parts of this, right? One is the kind of the mechanics, right? Obviously, it can be difficult to bridge, or it can be, right, it can take some time to get money into the Ronin ecosystem. And then there's the mechanics, and then there's also kind of the intent. And so, yeah, I mean, things like Relay are actually live on Ronin, and you can buy Ronin NFTs actually straight from Ethereum, like using Relay. You can also I do this quite a bit, where and I remember buying Ronke PFPs using ETH from using ETH from Ethereum, right?
Got it.
From my Ronin wallet, right? So some of these mechanics do work, and I think they can get better. Stark was showing me, that some of the cross-chain transfer or transaction fees are kind of high. So we were looking into that, and I actually did identify, some things that are kind of pushing up the prices there. So yeah, I think that those mechanics can and should get better and be optimized. I do think that it's also interesting, to see Ronin projects expanding outside of the core ecosystem and doing experiments on the other chains as well. And I think the infrastructure for that is also getting better. There are systems where you can basically bring your NFTs from an L2 to mainnet very seamlessly, right? So that's also a possibility, or even to other L2s. So I think those things are good quality of life improvements, and I think they could help onboarding. And I do think, though, the one thing that I'll push back on, is I think we do need to have compelling experiences and reasons, for people from outside of the Ronin community to come and engage on the chain. And, I think that there's kind of two paths here. And one of them is kind of a red ocean, and one, but maybe a little bit easier to imagine how it would happen. And the other is more blue ocean.
All right, thank you. Your mic is acting up a bit.
How about now?
So yeah, much better.
Okay.
You were talking about the two approaches.
Yeah. So basically, there's kind of the approach of, let's go for the rest of crypto Twitter, or let's get some Solana users, some base users transacting on Ronin or whatever, right? I think the other approach, which I find more interesting, but also perhaps more difficult, but also higher reward, and also more than our zone of genius or our specialty, is how do we get people who have never really touched crypto before to actually want to come and engage on the chain, right? And that was the core thesis of what Axie did and could do, and why we're interested in gaming, was that it could make crypto accessible and interesting to people who previously thought that it was boring, or previously thought that it was all about money. And so yeah, I think that the cross-chain stuff is interesting. It can be improved from our side at the infrastructure level. I also think, though, that we have to be bold about going for people that are not the current user base of crypto. if that makes sense. Because
Think bigger, yeah.
we can be good at memes, right? Oh yeah, let's make Ronki, right? Let's bring Ronki to 10 mil again or whatever, and that will attract some of the degen audience for sure. And I think that is right worthy. I'm down to support that. I'm very supportive of that, and I think that would help the network. But I think the way that we win huge is that we need to create net new experiences that are facilitated by crypto, that are bringing in fresh eyeballs. And it's not so crazy for us to say that because that's something that happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard. I do think that is hard. And as I talk to builders coming onto Ronin, right, a big theme, maybe something I take responsibility for this. I take responsibility for not doing more of this in the past, is talking to these builders and making sure that they actually have plans to onboard people to the network themselves, rather than just relying on
the current ones.
If we onboard everyone on Ronin, we'll get momentum, and then people from other chains will want to come theoretically, right? That's a lot of kind of wishful thinking. The more interesting thing, right, is like, hey, let's make an amazing game, or let's make an amazing experience that provides real value and would be interesting to someone who has never used crypto before. I think, and I do think that involves invention, that involves innovation, that involves almost being a polymath, because you also have to know a lot about normal consumers or actual customers, right? And I think the core dynamic that is kind of what I don't like about crypto, but I also, what we also need to understand is that, right, if we think about protocols as businesses, right, if we want to have a good business, you need customers. And the current crypto users are not good customers. They're good at a lot of things. They're great at a lot of things, right? They're like an army, right? Yeah. They're making content. They're giving you great feedback on your on your products. They can be a really good bootstrapping mechanism, right? But you cannot, I believe, have a very long-term durable business with just trying to fight over the scraps of crypto users that currently exist. That includes the current Ronin community, that includes the base and the Solana and the Robinhood community as well, right? And I think that's the problem to solve. Do I know what the solution is? Not really, but sometimes, right, clearly defining the problem is a big step towards
that's the first step.
Solving something, right? So for example, we just recently talked about, okay, we're considering putting Atia's Legacy on Steam. Why? Well, that's actually where the real gamers that actually spend money are, right? And not to say that the current Axie and Ronin community aren't real gamers. You guys are you guys are gamers, and you guys are also into crypto, but right, you're also more like partners and collaborators, and more so than customers, right? You guys don't really want to be customers, right? And I relate to that, because that's also how I felt when I entered the space. That's how I felt with CryptoKitties, and that's also how I felt when I joined Axie. Was like, yeah, I want to bring this to people who have never used crypto before.
Gotcha. Now, I guess the question now is that the reasoning as well as to why we're now improving the wallet, what's it called? It's Privy, right? We're moving on to Privy, and because I feel like that's more targeted to non-crypto natives. Is that one of the reasons why we're more invested in that direction?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Privy has been a major breakthrough in crypto onboarding experience. We built something called Waypoint, which was not good enough. It sucked compared to Privy. So we're like, fuck, and this is, we take responsibility for this, but also with the caveat that when we were building Waypoint, it was to solve a similar problem that Privy solves. Privy wasn't really battle tested, and it didn't exist yet, right? So, I think one of the things that we deal with, right, is like, yo, we are early, we have been early, so sometimes we have to build things ourselves, and then something that's better built by someone else comes along, and then, okay, boom, we can bring it over, right? So that is, that thinking is aligned with why we swapped out Waypoint for Stash, which is
Just-
basically a privy wrapper.
Just to swing back to like just the topic we were just on, thinking about like capturing an audience that's not on chain yet or not on Solana and so forth. What do you guys do, or do you do personally as a team to like? Because that would, for me, that means for if a team is on Ronin, it could mean being able to identify a small team as they're building something that's never been built before, which is not. Through my lens, something that I don't see as necessarily very easy to pick up on early, because it's not in the, it's not, if it's not a product that's on chain yet, or something that's not being done yet, it can be quite hard for the untrained eye to like see that something's being done that's done well. So how do you think about that, and how do you what would make you identify things like that early, even if it's on other chains, for example? What are your thoughts about that?
You want to look at how they're thinking, and what evidence do you have, right? If a lot of builders will say, yeah, like we want this to go big, we want this to go mainstream, right? That's kind of I don't know, table stakes. But do they actually have any evidence or history of being able to do that? I once did DD, right, on Axie, on the Axie team. Because it was like, yo, I'm moving halfway around the world to Vietnam, based on some conversations that I've had in Discord. So what gave me the confidence to actually move to Vietnam was, I saw that Trung had, or Trung, as you guys know him, had built a successful Web2 startup before, right? So, and I think the space is professionalizing, which is good. And, the quality of builders should theoretically get better. And so, yeah, Joe was just talking to some builders that are looking at Ronin, that are coming to Ronin this week. And, I wanted to see, hey, like, do you guys actually have a strategy for user acquisition that's not just, hey, we're migrating to Ronin, or we're integrating Ronin as a cross-chain thing, and you hope that you get some bump from Ronin? You will get that bump from Ronin, and it can be good, but you also need to have a compelling body of evidence that you would actually be able to bring value to the chain, rather than just use the chain to get a bump in some of your metrics.
Or do you have any thoughts on that? Because I see you sometimes, like for example, the betting on Ron team and things like that. You tend to be looking up at least for smaller teams that are starting out that you like.
I've gone through waves. I mean, the past few months, I feel like I've just kind of like been frozen. But like that poker, I've been looking for poker on the blockchain for years, and I've tried a couple different things, but they were either blacked out where I live or whatever. It was kind of scammy. So this is like a pretty legitimate poker platform that's pretty smooth by 3 guys that have been in the Ronin ecosystem for a long time. Like it's a nice little product. So I'm happy to promote it because I actually like using it. So,
and what do you look at? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, finish. I thought it cut out.
I think that is one example of a team that, kind of, it's been in the Ronin ecosystem. They love Ronin, and they want Ronin to love them. And they may not be like experienced business people who know the consumer landscape and how to onboard people who aren't in crypto. But I think they've built something that, if they had some tutelage and support in those departments, then it's totally possible, because they solve a need that, like where I live, there aren't really that many options for online poker, and it's really easy on Ronin. Like, you just trade your Ronin in for chips, play the game, and then you cash out right away, and it's like seamless. So if people in places where they didn't have poker available to play can do that, like, it's a pretty powerful like product offering, I think.
But so, and because you're like a real like a true Ronin believer, as tough as they come. So what are other things you look at? Like obviously you just said they're building on Ronin, loving Ronin.
Yeah.
What are other things you look at as a obviously non-team member, but that is a fervent Ronin believer? So what else do you look at in teams and builders and stuff like that that might differ from how Jihoz looks at?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's different from how Jihoz looks.
Doesn't have to differ. That doesn't have to differ. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what I've seen from them is that, you know, they have what they're open to suggestions and they're like iterating in real time, and like you ask for something to be changed and within like 15 minutes, like it's done. Like they're actively engaging with their community and like building that relationship at the ground level, and they're playing on the tables. They're like, you know, asking people what they can do better. It's still pretty early days, but it is a unique product offering. And I think that team's doing very well in terms of their execution and building a real product that works.
Yep. On my end, I see it as a good thing that despite these the times that we're going through and the tough market conditions, that there are still even now still new teams coming, attempting. Yeah. That's always a good sign.
Yeah. Let me just add, like, go ahead. I follow Anthem on Twitter, and he's kind of like a big head and corny sometimes, but he said it's darkest before the dawn, and a lot of times that the type of stuff that you need to kind of like bring you back can show up during the darkest times like that. And like the past couple of days, we've seen the market turn around, so you'll see those people who aren't crypto natives start to turn their heads and look at crypto opportunities again. As you know, if Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to go up, then people are going to start looking at crypto again. So if you're in position to gather some of that attention when the heads turn back that way, then, you know, and people need to be able to see it, because I feel like the competition in the landscape is more than ever, especially with like perps have taken like a lot of the liquidity and volume and gambling aspects of the crypto world, like away from like being at that like NFT infrastructure project level for now. Like you look at a lot of the other kind of like L2s, and it's really the products with strong product market fit right now, like Hyperliquid and, you know, some of the other ones that are doing high revenue and 100% buybacks that are kind of like
and also for companies like that, it helps when their name is mentioned by the president of the United States.
Well, I'd imagine there was some sort of deal there, like Trump got something out of that.
It's funny because we prepared the script for this show, and I think the timing of what happened yesterday, the markets could not have been better, because we were going to talk about the market conditions, and when we have a day like yesterday right before the show, it adds even more like value or importance to the segment. So like, Jihoz, what are your thoughts on? I mean, I know what your thoughts are on the market conditions, but specifically concerning yesterday, and you can see the quick euphoria on the timeline just because of one day like this. What are your thoughts on that?
Things can change really quick. We're fighting each other, whatever. Right? I mean, historically, it's like, okay, right, let's, you know, it's good to have these types of, have this Discord, have these hard conversations. That's also how we get better. And yeah, you know, I put out some literature. Maybe I even built a tool, right, where you guys can track a lot of the metrics. And historically, right, we're in that time where things, right, you crash over this summer, and then you start to be thinking about bottoming. You start to think about accumulation zones where, right, at this time last cycle, right, it was like Luna collapsed in June, July, or whatever, and then you had people getting super depressed, and then right this fall, there were some pumps, and then you had FTX, and I think the obvious, right? Like I think what the debate right now is, will we just bottom in October, November, which is like where the cycle theory says we should bottom, or right, because everyone is expecting the bottom to come in October, November, do we just bottom now, and maybe we don't need to see as much downside on BTC this cycle because maybe the cycles are getting a little bit less volatile, right? That the peak to trough doesn't need to be 75-85% like it was in past cycles, maybe 65% or whatever it's done from the top suffices. So yeah, I'm not here to give financial advice, but just to kind of elucidate how I'm thinking about the market and how I see people also thinking about the market. And I think the quants out there are, saying, hey, we probably in accumulation zone, perhaps we see, a lower low, but, what are you going to do? Get completely out of the market and then try to time the bottom. Right. So, I think, a lot of the smart people that I know have been kind of dipping their toes in on dips since March and since May. Right?
All right. Now let's talk about quickly about liquidity, because there's been a lot of community discussion around the 90 million RON and where those tokens currently stand. Or you've been pretty direct about wanting those funds move into treasury, but Jihoz, can you give us an update on that situation, or where that 90 million RON is?
So this is real. Okay, so the 90 million RON, it's going through both security and legal review. We need to make sure that the multi-sig signers don't have to pay any taxes or anything like that based on moving those funds. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of RON in the treasury as well, right? So I think this is also related to governance, right? So governance also, the governance contracts are currently in security review. And so I think the guidance that we gave was Q3, still on track for Q3 launch of governance. And, then basically anyone would be able to submit a proposal, and the process by which proposals choose to get voted on. And I think that's I think at the beginning, Sky Mavis may be like, hey, here are the ones that are most interesting, also based on what seems to have a lot of traction and social momentum behind them, right? So this is also related to the question of liquidity, because I saw some people being like, oh, we need governance ASAP so that we can start liquidity, so that we could use the Ronin treasury and pair it with different tokens to deepen liquidity. And so yeah, I see that, and that's definitely a valid use case and a potential use case for governance. I will also say though that when you provide liquidity, there's a chance of impermanent loss, right? So then it's I think the question would be, should the treasury supply liquidity on pairs, even if the expected value of providing liquidity on that pair is negative to the treasury, even taking into account the fact that you theoretically get higher fees from having less slippage on that pair.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a tough call, right? I don't even know if it's worth doing, but just noticed when I was trading some smaller coins that the slippage was high on small amounts of money.
And I see that, and I think that's valid. And I also saw it was Sunflower Land, you need $5,000 or something. I was I'm not here to say whether that's a good idea. I was you want to buy $5,000 on a low slippage thing or on a high slippage thing, it's kind of risky. I don't even know. I don't know if the treasury was up and running and we had governance, even if that would even be a smart play. And
for sure. But I remember when AXS was $7 million and we were on Binance, and the slippage was not high there, so people could get a big position for about what they bought without losing 15%, because the tokens aren't available. So like I would say you really only want to pair up with teams that you're like closer with, and maybe that's like some sort of relationship incentive to strengthen the bond between the two teams to like make sure that it's the right team. Because if you're going to use Ron as the other token, then you're going to end up with more Ron or less Ron. If you're going to use US dollars as the other token, then you're going to end up with more US dollars or less US dollars. You'll end up with more of whatever one underperforms. So like but also if the treasury has like a lot of Ron, like, is it the worst thing to kind of dollar cost average out of Ron? And like say Ron's is doing better than flour, and then you're going to end up with less Ron in the treasury and more flour. But that, so it's kind of like a balancing act and an intentional decision with cost trade-offs for sure. And it requires like attention and energy to like make informed decisions around that. So completely understand both sides of it, and not saying it's necessarily a solution, but just seeing funds in the treasury like that could be used towards growth in some way, whether that means whatever it means. But yeah, the governance progress is encouraging, in fact, in the way that, you know, people will be able to suggest ideas to spur growth through using.
For sure. And I totally expect you to be like a leader when it comes to a lot of that stuff. So yeah, you know, appreciate, you know, you continuing to shed a light on it. And you know, I talked to the team and said that we need to, you know, tighten up, and not tighten up, but make sure that our communication to you guys related to things like governance and related to things like honor is just better. And that's partly what I wanted to do here, and, you know, not 100% of what I wanted to do here, but you know, a big part of it for sure.
For sure. It's like time flies. Like, you know, something gets said 6 months ago, something gets said 3 months ago, and like time goes by and we see, you know, we keep
all of that stuff is always kind of annoying, because it's like, fuck, we're moving around a lot of money, and it's like, oh, we didn't think like security is like, oh, this is riskier than you guys assumed, or legal.
Totally get that.
Or if there's like bureaucracy, but that's what keeps us safe sometimes, right?
Yeah, it also keeps you from making small experiments and like making bold decisions too, though. Like, especially at a time when, you know, fear and doubt is close to as bad as it can be. Like, we use governance to buy back Ron at 35 cents. If we had not done that and done it now, then like, yeah, we should have done that. But like, hindsight's 2020, and like we could have bought back 7 times more Ron today with the Ethereum that we have, maybe even more than we did. And like, yeah, people who sold at 30 cents got more money for the coins that they sold, but we ended up rewarding basically the people who left instead of rewarding the people who stayed. So, and then like now staking's gone, so the people who stayed get no Ron. And so what is the reward for holding, being like loyal and believing in the project, like where it seems like the people who left are the ones who got rewarded? So like, when honor comes back, should people who stayed be rewarded, and should loyalty like be built as like, you know, the people keep their coins in the projects that they think are going to have the token holders' best interests at heart. So if there have been examples of where that isn't the case, then people start to wonder if it is the case. So I think it's important to act in alignment with that. Same with POD rewards. Right. We need to reward the right teams, right? So it, like, I don't know the best way. I don't know, like, but I do like how, like, where we are aligning how much we pay someone with how much they're bringing in. But I think but the strictly quantitative version, I think, may have some holes in the fact, like, it doesn't catch things that have a lot of potential that aren't necessarily doing numbers yet, or you know, that have like a more brandy IP sort of value to them that isn't really as quantifiable just through like running blockchain transactions yet. So I almost wondered about, and I don't know if this is the answer, but like maybe like 2 buckets or some sort of like qualitative review. Yeah. So for the POD thing, I think there's been some encouraging. I don't know. It's just encouraging to see kind of like people running experiments around that. And I think with AI coming on, there's kind of potential for like, it to be a gaming network for robots too. But I also see the risk of real builders kind of getting pushed out by automated transactions and stuff like that. So it's kind of just interesting to see the dichotomy between those two like parties. Like you got like the programmers that are like farming POD, and then but they're building weird shit. Like I don't know, like launching fake projects, but like they're building stuff and iterating on it. But like I love that they got nuked, but so to try to make it like a 1-to-1 for like if you're bringing in $1, then you're going to get paid like $1 and 1 cent or something like that. But like I have seen some of the more like small guerrilla team builders being frustrated by the fact, that those teams are kind of like gaming the system, I guess, but it's a gaming network. So like what will be can be gamed will be gamed. Yeah. But I don't know.
I mean, I think great. Like, well, there are a couple of threads to pull on here, right? So we talk a little bit about honor, and so one, as I've speaking to a few teams again that are interested in coming to Ronin, the thing that they always ask us is like, who should we target to kind of try out our product? If we have a special offer, right? Or if we have a free mint or something like that, who should we give that to? So that is the thing that I think kind of unlocks a lot of the thinking about honor. It's like, what are the builders actually asking for? And basically what they want is like a social graph or almost like an ad network, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So, yes, of course, yes. I mean, I want people, especially the people who have stuck around, right? I want them to be rewarded, and I want them to feel like this entire journey has been worth it, right? And like, there's nothing more that I want. I also think that, right, expecting the protocol to do that, all by itself, without us winning and getting product market fit and having things like Axie blow up and new things like pixels do super well and widen the pie. I think we obviously are going to need to have a combination. And okay, so when builders are seeking to come to the network, a lot of what they're asking for, especially recently, is like, who is active, if I want to attract this archetype of user, how do I get that list, right? So that actually informs a lot of how I'm thinking about honor, where it's like honor is actually a curated list of the best Ronin network addresses / community members, right? And so, like I think there can be benefits for honor like that are kind of native to the protocol or somehow involve the treasury or BRON and things like this. However, I also think that a really interesting mechanism is, builders, when they're coming to Ronin, or even current Ronin builders, let's say the Axie wants, more people from Ronin, from the rest of the Ronin community to try out the next playtest or whatever, to specifically target people who are high honor or who have high scores in a certain thing on the network, on the Ronin network, right? Oh, we want NFT collectors. Oh no, we want gamers that play these types of games, should be able to target and get a list very smoothly. Another recent example around this was Cambria. So I was talking to Ben. He was like, "Yo, want to do something really amazing for the Ronin community, because without Ronin, Cambria wouldn't be around today and wouldn't because if you think about Ronin as kind of an incubating network, right? Like we did a lot for Cambria. So we spoke. I was like, Mystic Axies, Moki holders, Ranki holders, people who are staking Ron. These are some of the things, right, that you should target. But in the future, right, you have this this honor system that becomes like this kind of database of builders to come and make offers or gifts to the right users. And so that's how I'm thinking about honor. And yeah,
I think about like power users. Like I think back to Axie in 2018, and like without Coco, like would Axie have done what it did? He pretty much bought like a third or whatever number of Axies that there were. Like he injected a massive amount of liquidity, basically like VC bootstrapping the whole project from an NFT level. So like I like that idea of like incentivizing these power users to, kind of like at whatever level. Like one thing I think about Ronin too is like, have we cannibalized our user base? Like now, instead of being one army under one country, have we created ourselves into like 20 armies in 20 countries?
That is kind of true in some ways. I mean, I would say, right, there's some benefits to that and there's some downsides to that. But I do think that a lot of that is symptomatic of, right, you need a team or teams, right, to go out there and onboard people to the chain rather than just, hey, coming and, right. This isn't just a sin that was committed by Ronin builders. I'm not throwing the Ronin builders under the bus. I love the Ronin builders. This was a sin that was that was done, right, like kind of committed by the entire Web3 gaming space. Was that, right, Axie blew up and had and we have a huge community, and then, right, a lot of people, right, used our success to raise funds, make their own projects on many different chains.
Mainly North Korea.
some of them Ronin, and right, kind of just, right, rather than going out and getting net new users, right, they just targeted, right, the current Web3 gamers, which is basically just the Axie community, right?
Yeah. So do you all have a toolkit for like making the onboarding experience as smooth as possible? Like I was bridging to Ronin the other day and I committed my transaction. I'm looking around for a verification transaction. It wasn't even like giving me an update about like where my funds were or how long it would take. I had to like use Grok to get an answer. So like I wonder about revisiting. And then like you were talking about, like new projects and new games need to figure out how to get these regular users who have no exposure to crypto or have very little exposure to crypto, who don't use it every day, like a lot of the Ronin users do. So like, is there a toolkit kind of like that you can kind of just plug in, modular type toolkit that you could plug into new games that are developing that allows them to kind of like, it's just like put in your credit card number, put in your whatever, and just deposit? Like, so a game doesn't need to really develop that for themselves. They're just like, here it is.
I mean, so one interesting example of this flow, right, is Angry Dynamites, right, where they're actually onboarding people to the chain who don't really know that they're using the chain, and they're actually paying gas fees, right, on behalf of the users. So still, it's not super simple. I think that process can be made easier, but right, things like Privy, things like Ronin Stash, and things like tools like Third Web, that stuff all has gotten a lot better over the years.
All right, let's talk about those things, right? Because those were a couple of things. There was pod, there was liquidity, there was honor, governance. If you would put a number on that list, like which one is the priority over the other, how would that look like, Jiho?
I think that POD, I would cross that off because, we want to improve. That's kind of like a launched product, right? But we want to gather data, make it better, use AI to make it better as well, not while also using our own brains and common sense. And so it wouldn't be that. And, I think on the protocol side, right, it's like the governance and the honor thing. I would say that those and those are important to us. And in terms of actually winning, do I think that I think we need to deliver those things. Do I think that those are going to be some magical panacea that fixes all the problems on the Ronin network? I would have to say no, right? I would think that something like Atiya's Legacy, actually being able to onboard everyday gamers, right? Something like that would be more of a catalyst that could actually, right, get us to where we want with the network. And you also have teams like Moku, right? Moku is showing the power of AI, right? I do believe that in the future, the value of IP and community is actually going to increase. And I think that's what we have a lot of on Ronin. And why is the value of IP and community going to increase? Because the ability to generate content is going to be almost infinite, right? Where you have the ability, right? Like I think you see, right? They made Dookie Dungeon. They're making like clone of Ragman or something like that. You're seeing that they're able to start pump out experiences. We also, right, are looking at this a little bit more on the Axie side, where it's like, maybe Axie Builders Program was just too ahead of its time. That was too futuristic of a concept. But now, right, and when anyone can be a dev, theoretically, the possibilities are maybe the technology has started to catch up to the idea.
Yeah, I think AI is huge, right? Like we've seen it. Like 2 years ago, it seemed like some far off esoteric thing. Now you can type into Grok or ChatGPT and it will literally build you a web app.
The funny thing, right, is like in the early days, people would protect me or defend me. Right? I'd be like, yo, guys, the servers are down. Like, we're trying to get the servers back up. And then people would flame me. Oh, what the fuck? Like, you can't even keep the servers up. And then
that was a good problem to have.
Nice Filipino would be like, yo, don't attack Jihoz. He's not a developer. Well, guess what? Right? Like now, my team, right, the growth team, now we all develop. Like now we can all kind of do development, right? And so that also, I think will also help in, being able to ship some of these quality of life improvements over time, because we kind of just have more engineering power. But then the community will also now have more engineering power. And so I think that's going to be a special thing. I think it's gaining in momentum. It's not fully, fleshed out or formed yet, but I do think that is an interesting opportunity.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to people. Can I say this? So I was talking to like a social network recently, and they were like, yo, like we keep getting takedown requests from like Disney and Nintendo because people are using, right, like IPs that are copyrighted in these different like video generation models and posting them, etc. And I was like, oh, like, well, that's kind of interesting because, with Axie, I mean, we have a lot of people doing that, and we like that. We want to encourage that, right? So, I think that AI will actually transform like how communities can interact and build both like code as well as art and animations and games on top of their favorite IPs, and I think that. I think that like NFT communities will benefit a lot from that, and especially right, like of the NFT communities, right? I think that the Ronin community or the Axie community is the best when it comes to right the community actually going out there and shipping things, right? So. There's two sides of the coin, and I think it's a bit of a barbell, right? It's like, yes, we do need like amazing builders with like established pedigrees that can go out there and like get product market fit and bring in Web2 users. But I also think that, right, like if we have a lot of like grassroots community developers building interesting stuff, some of those could also do really well. And I mean, in some ways,
I remember back when you didn't have any pedigree other than your Yale degree.
I have never.
You were one of those guys who came right up and built something that changed the world. So anybody, it's not like
Yeah,
you need some long resume of previous projects to do something special.
For sure. And I do think that Sky Mavis, right? Sky Mavis is an example of that. We're the first, billion-dollar company on paper, right? That was from Vietnam, that wasn't like backed or formed by the Vietnamese government. And
speaking of finances, I was wondering about like Ronin's financial picture, and I was wondering about like how much does it cost to run? Like, what's our cash runway look like? Like, just like I look at like income statements and balance sheets, so like equities and stuff like that. And I think it's important to understand like the economic health of a certain company or product. And with Ronin, I haven't necessarily had the transparency to truly understand like where we stand financially. And then on top of that, like the competing obligations between Axie and the Ronin network kind of like all roll up under Sky Mavis. And I don't think any of that's like very clear as to like how much things cost, where the investment's going. And I know a lot of that's a lot of work to produce and maintain. But just as like an investor, and I feel I'm a part owner, like those things are very important to me to understand. And like before I would want to put any more money into Ronin, I'd want to know like how long do we have here before we need to strike lightning? Like you mentioned like products that replace your products that, were inferior, like Privy and I wonder if that could happen to the Ronin blockchain, because Axie is a pretty powerful brand and IP by itself. And that I feel like, it existed on Ethereum already. I think Devicio the other day, it was probably a couple months ago at this point, but he was talking about like using Axie governance to move Axie off of Ronin, because like Ronin is like a parasite to Axie. And like, so I just wonder about just kind of like how you prioritize Ronin versus Axie, how that's balanced, like the vesting reward responsibilities. Like it's just unclear to me how that all gets kind of like balanced out, and how it's, I just feel like there's only so many human resources. There's only so much energy in the day. So like building out that Axie experience is like the most important thing for Ronin. But if Axie's getting like a lot of income, that doesn't necessarily mean Ronin's getting much of a piece of that. So just like, it just seems kind of convoluted to me now that we're spreading all this value across so many tokens. So like, how do we not like get cut into 1,000 pieces here instead of like all working together for one thing,
So a lot of the benefits of becoming an L2 was that it actually dramatically reduced the costs of running the chain, and allowed us to spend, rather than like doing a lot of maintenance on running some of the stuff that was making our lives complicated before the L2. We've been able to focus on what actually matters, and also reduce a lot of the costs when it comes to running the chain. Sky Mavis is in a strong financial position. We have years of runway. We're not in imminent threat of going bankrupt.
Nice. That's always reassuring to hear, even though like it may seem obvious from like your
it can be tricky to give like exact estimations, because if I'm wrong, then I don't know. If I say the wrong thing, then I could
talk like Tony Soprano.
Yeah, what I can say is like we have years of runway, so we're not like going. We're not going to be like one of those teams being like, "Hey guys, sorry, it's been a rough journey. We have to close before the next bull market fucking starts."
Right. Like, those are like my worst nightmares at night. I know that if
we need to have urgency. If there's going to be a cycle this time, right? We need to seize the moment and we need to capitalize on it. But we're not in right, danger of a shutdown announcement imminently.
Good.
So that I think that's what I'll say. I also say that balancing between Axie and Ronin, that is a tricky thing. And yeah, theoretically, if Axie does well, that increases the TAM, or total addressable market, of crypto gaming, of crypto apps, of crypto consumer apps, and that benefits Ronin. But yeah, I do think that in the early days it was very simple, where it was like Axie, right, and then there's Axie, and then there's Katana, and then there's the Ronin wallet, and everything was very simple and smooth and kind of fitting perfectly together, right? So yeah, I think that's that is kind of the art of threading the needle here, is balancing between the two. Balancing between the two has gotten a lot easier since Ronin became an L2 and a lot of the costs were reduced. And yeah, so we're in a strong financial position, and we're spending, we're working on governance and expect that to ship on schedule in Q3. Honor as well, and we do have high hopes for things like the Axie MMO, but as well as a lot of the other experiences that are building on Ronin.
All right. Now, I'm mindful of both of your time here. I think we're crossing the hour, but I want to get something, I guess, concrete, or for something in the future, right? Imagine it's what day is today? The 20th of August, 2027, like exactly 12 months from now. What would you need to have happened for both of you to say, yeah, Ronin is fucking back? What would have that been a situation? What's the catalyst that you're looking at? Is it the price?
I can start. Yeah, for me, I like to focus on fundamental metrics first. So the things that I like to focus on are like how much money is in the ecosystem, how much economic activity is in the ecosystem, what are the inflows to the treasury look like. I like price to equity ratios and like when trying to value an equity. So like if a company makes $1 million a year and it's valued at $20 million market cap, like I consider that like a good price for something that's producing a lot of economic value. If in a year the cash flows, the total value locked, the amount of activity amongst the games, the NFT marketplace, the Katana decks are much higher, and I also think about relativity, right? So when I see like Hyperliquid doing really well, and I see us like not moving as much during times like when, say, like most things are going down, like there's relative strength. So like how are we doing opposed to compared with other things that are competing for similar customers? So yeah, and then as Jiho said, also like bringing in net new users. So even if they're not crypto, so basically, like he said, increasing the pie. Are we increasing the pie? Are we not just taking temporary users from kind of this crypto hot potato, and are we creating net new users who are basically in it for the brand and the IP and the experience, and may not necessarily know as much about like the crypto side of things. So that's kind of what
I'll hop in next, and then you can go, Jihoz. I know I'm just your co-host, Gunlock, but I have an answer for this.
Okay, so you have an answer too. Okay, fine.
Bro, the man has been bursting, waiting for his turn.
He's been saving it all.
For me, for 12 months from now, for me to be able to, Ronin is back. I want to be able to just have not enough hours in the day to min-max my Ronin experiences, and to be so busy, either whether it's answering scholar demands or scholar DMs, or just not even having time for scholars because I'm too busy playing something, That's what I'm waiting for. I'm the polar opposite of or. I don't look at fundamentals. I don't look at all these acronyms you gave. I'm just like, I need my wife to be banging on the door saying, "Whoa, we'll come back to reality." You can go, Jihoz.
I would want to see us having more than one, right? Victory would look like at least 2 products that are growing, bringing in net new users, and also, right, doing that in a way that is, right, pushing up the substantive metrics on the chain. And I would want to see people dreaming again. I would want to see the community relatively united. I would want to see optimism. And I would want to see those kind of, the animal spirits back in a sense. But I would want to see an even higher quality and craftsmanship, right? I think that it's going to be interesting innovations and inventions combined with craftsmanship, right? Just like, what was Axie? Axie was combining, right, Classic, which was a great game in and of itself, with Uniswap, right? That was the fundamental innovation that really popped off there. And I would want to see that type of, right, like a great product that is unique when it comes to Web 2, whether it's a game or even something else, but leveraging crypto in some interesting way that hasn't been seen before. And I think that's what we do best. And, I think it's been too long since we've seen something like that on the chain. And, to me, right, it's like, when people ask me this question about Ethereum, right? When would you be worried about Ethereum, or what would make you switch to being, I don't know, Solana Maxi or something like that? And what I tell people when they ask me that is, I would lose faith in Ethereum when I see repeatedly new inventions happening in crypto on a chain that isn't EVM or that isn't Ethereum. Right? Hyperliquid is doing great, but Hyperliquid is not on Solana, right? Hyperliquid is, basically, and it's an EVM chain. There is a bridge from Arbitrum into it. So ultimately, right, that's part of the, I consider that part of the Ethereum ecosystem, right? So I would be concerned about Ethereum if I see, saw inventions happening somewhere else. So conversely, or like the one way to think about like Ronin is, I'll get excited and I'll think that Ronin is back when I see people doing things that have never been done before on the Ronin chain, right? That could include, we made a game that is viral on some, right, normal Web 2 platform or distribution channel that, right, integrates the chain in some meaningful way.
Which is called Nomgar. No, I'm just kidding. That's we're not gonna ship that Sark, okay? Stop it.
Well, we'll see. So we're coming on to the final section of the show where we're gonna do something with Or first, and then we're gonna give Jihoz the final speech. I don't know if you remember Or, but last time you were on the show, because you're known for your legendary tweets. So we're gonna on the spot again. We're gonna ask you to help us write a tweet from the Ronin Radio page addressed to try to get, if you've got any left of that tweeting spark to any length can do, just one of your bangers on the spot. Let's go. Top.
All right. Well, geez. I've been watching a lot of Ted Lasso.
Yes.
It's a tremendous show. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, it's a banger.
Oh man, it's great for humility and leadership and it's a powerful, powerful show. But I think I'm going to keep it simple here and say I believe in hope. I believe in believe, and just direct quote Ted Lasso there. And like, I
Perfect.
believe in Ronin as the third sentence there.
Okay.
There you go.
That's
That's a
better.
tweet right there. But there are obviously people in the community that are still frustrated right now. Some have lost conviction. Some are questioning whether crypto gaming can actually come back. And some people in the chat right now, 420 of you, are still here because they believe Ronin can do what it did before, or potentially something even bigger. Now, Jihoz, this question is to you. What do you want those people to understand about Ronin right now that they might not be seeing?
I mean, we're not fucking giving up. And to me, it's not such a stretch of the imagination, right? We've done it once, right? Last cycle, like I think the latter half of the cycle was not great, but you know that we had a good first part of the cycle. So we've done it's right. We've had successes. We've had great years multiple times. It's not such a stretch of the imagination that we can do it again. And you know, there are I don't see other communities that have been here for 7, 8 years strong. And you got to believe that there's value in that. And I think the value of IP, the value of communities is only increasing as technology gets better. And I see the potential for golden swans on the horizon. And it's not going to be easy. I never said it's going to be easy, right? Like I think like even like in the top of the tops and the greatest days, I've always said, right, there are going to be days where you're fucking mad at me. There's going to be days where you're crying. There's going to be days where, right, it feels like we're going through the Arctic Circle, and there are going to be days like that. And so this has been an amazing journey for me, and I'm blessed to have all of you guys on it with us, and I think it days like this, right, is very easy to see how something crazy could happen again, right? And this is kind of how crypto is, right? It's like we get really excited, get too excited, make some bad decisions sometimes, and then we get really depressed, and then we get really excited. And, that's part of, right? Like crypto's kind of like a toxic ex-girlfriend, right? Like that kind of plays with you.
Is there any other way to live?
But though it's those, it's those emotional highs and lows, that I think make it interesting. So yeah, I believe in this community. I believe in ourselves. And, I think a lot of this is kind of, what I signed up for, right? And, even when people are really angry, I wonder, people probably are sometimes ask me, oh, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Like sometimes when things aren't, I remember when we got attacked by North Korea, right? I went on stage or whatever, and, I went to an event. We even had like a meetup that day, right? Mm-hmm. I thought that people were going to be angry at me, right? But then I was actually honored, and what I thought I was so touched by was like people were worried about me, right? They were like, "Are you okay?" Right? So I'm okay. I'm here. I still believe, and yeah, to all of you that still believe as well, I appreciate that, and that's why we do it.
Awesome. All right, Jihoz, Aurora, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been awesome talking to you about these conversations. I think we pretty much touch on everything, every layer.
Aura and I go way back. I remember, I think you came in maybe not too long after me to Axie. Like, I think I got there in like maybe March, to be honest. I think
I was April,
right? So he's one of the early joiners, and we went through hard times. Like I always wonder, like, were those times harder or are these times harder? Right? It's kind of like the relative. It's like that back then it was kind of, the stakes were maybe a little bit, or the stakes were lower, right? Yeah. But it also felt like, fuck, like, are we stupid? Are we wasting time? Now, it's like, oh, right. Like, have we, now the questions are a little bit like, oh, are we living up to our potential, right? We know that we're capable of greatness, but are we doing all we can? Have we made too many mistakes? Are we gonna be able to turn things around, right? Those are kind of like also like different existential questions. But yeah, you know, I've enjoyed going through all of this.
Same with you, man. That's some deep shit, but it's true.
Love it. Love that. Well, guys, we're gonna let you go. We're gonna get you back to whatever you guys were doing, or I think it's pretty early for you, Mr. Jiho. Jeff, thank you so much for your time. We still have a couple of updates that we're gonna be talking through. Not sure if you guys want to stay for that one, but yeah, awesome speaking with you both, and we'll have you again next time, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and kick them out, and we're gonna go back. Oh man, that was some conversation right there, Mr. Sark. I think we were just some pretty faces smiling while they were talking, and I think that was some lovely stuff at the end as well.
Yeah,
believe.
Well, when you have two guests of that caliber, like those are once a year caliber guests, and you have the two of them together, it's bound to be a banger. So all I was doing there was just like smile and wave, boys. I was just like chiming in for a few questions, but that's the job sometimes of being a host, is knowing when not to speak. You know, when you have amazing, especially here, them bouncing off each other, and they know each other, and they go way back. So
exactly,
sometimes you just have to let the dish simmer.
Exactly, let them cook, boys. And Bruce is on the chat, still shilling Nomgar. We're not gonna do it, okay?
Yeah.
We're not gonna confirm if we're gonna do it or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. Well, we can talk a little bit about the show we might have planned next week. Do we know who we have on next week? I'm not sure we do yet. I'm thinking about having Indes on to talk about the new XP Classic Council thing.
Yes, I want that to happen as well, and I think he is down for it. Done.
Okay.
Done.
Okay.
All right, but before we get into that one, we still have a couple of slides that we need to go through, because there are a couple of
we need to go through them. I thought we just stop now.
No, we still need to go through them real quick, and we're just gonna wrap it up through those things that we're gonna be talking about, and we are gonna be starting off with Fableborn. Fableborn is now live and running, and the gameplay, from what I've been reading in the Twitter space, is it's really improved a lot. So the people seems to be enjoying. I have not played it myself, but I believe Tony is actually on it right now and is playing the heck out of that game. Season 5 has launched, and it was launched on the 17th. Guild season kicks off on the 24th. That's 4 days from now. If you have not joined a guild yet, make sure to do so. I believe that is in-game, or it's on the website where you can join a guild. I believe Mott's is still recruiting, not sure. And the full event schedule revealed, and including the new boss encounter. So there is a good amount of experience. I don't think the PvP is live yet, but I think the focus might be the new encounters for the bosses. So check it out, Fableborn. That is live. And the next one that we have is Axie Infinity Update, AOC. Atia's Original Crystal is coming soon, so you can roll it if you have 5 of them. I think it's so expensive right now to buy anyway, but yeah. Do you have 5 AOC, Stark, or
no? It's I mean, it's not. It's a feature basically that was promised to the OGs years ago, and it's finally being rolled out. It's great for them. I'm happy for them, because but it concerns almost no new users.
Things are, I guess, the theme of 2026 is paying homage to the OGs. Terrarium was
at this stage we are OGs too, and Terrariums was not for the OGs. The OGs kind of got screwed by that one. The Terrariums was an update for the rest of us, for the general population, which was fantastic. And
so the updates for Terrarium, the estate buff has actually been rolled out. So if you have multiple lands lying across each other, you'd get some form of benefit. I believe there's like a percentage, and you can have a main land to function as your primary estate, and that will have boosted stats in terms of the earnings. So if you have not checked that out, and if you have an estate yourself, make sure to have that set up as well. And the next one that we have is, what else do we have, Mr. Producer Man? Ronke! I saw a lot of Ronke in the chat earlier. We see you. So Abra is in there. So Ronke API is now live for other builders. So you can plug in into Ronke and you can basically set up a form of honor system, I guess, so that you can, build it for your own community. So the Ronke API is now open to all Ronke builders. Check out the Ronke Score tool. So if you're building a game that is around Ronke, you can actually use it. And there is now a Ronke Discord. So you can, it's no longer inside the Ronin Discord. So initially it was on the Ronin Discord, but now they have set up their own Ronkeverse Discord. And if you have not joined Saul and you are a Ronke just like us, make sure to hop in on Discord. I believe Sushi is in the chat. So Sushi, if you can drop the link to the Discord, that would be great. And yeah, Ronke is one of those builders that have been continuously creating experiences. There's a lot. I'm enjoying Tetris. Are you a big fan of Tetris, Stark, or you are shit at that one too?
You're such a good host generally, and there I'm getting evil Gunlock asking me these fucking questions. At least we know you have that in your. We know that you have that in your arsenal, or maybe it's you continuously being on Ronin Radio. It's kind of
getting more toxic.
It's correct. Yeah, I love it. Lean into it, man. No, I'm shit at Tetris indeed.
Yeah, so the Tetris game from Ronke is really fun. I wish it was a separate app though, where you can download it on your phone, Ronke Tetris or something, and play with others. But right now, I believe it's on a website and it's part of the I forgot the name of the game. There was like the main Ronke something, Age of Ronke. There you go. So Age of Ronke has that housed, and yeah. They are still building.
Yeah.
They can't read, but they can build.
Let's just fly through these slides. The show's been dragging on. People have fallen asleep. Let's quick
oh
fire.
My god. What the fuck is this shit? Guys, oh my god. Lomgar Clash coming soon. No, this is a fucking meme. Fucking skip this. No,
the
Bruce.
the one time I don't fucking veto these slides and it's off the record. Okay.
All right.
More
Craft
soon.
World.
More
Okay.
soon. More soon. Is that the
Moon soon? What the hell, man?
I was gonna
You're
rip
a fucking
it.
Ronke.
No, but I'm reading off my phone and it's in portrait mode, so it's about this big.
All right, so Moon soon is coming to Craft World, so there's going to be a new event, I guess.
Okay.
They've been innovating, they've been updating the game. There's a lot of new experiences for Craft World as well.
Perfect. Next slide.
Okay, next slide. We're just rushing through it. Ronin Waypoint deadline extended.
Okay, next
All right,
slide.
congratulations.
Next slide.
It's going to migrate before September 30th, okay? Make sure to migrate it.
What's
Next slide.
the point of being the host of the show and when you say next slide, it doesn't get
Rocky Rice Farmers open for playtest for creators, okay?
Lovely.
So if you are a creator, make sure to hop on to the Ronke Rice Farmer Discord, as Mido should be able to hook you up with a playtest for creators. So I already have mine. Tony has his, and we're going to be playing Ronke Rice Farmer later on tonight.
Okay.
All right,
I like this.
Next slide.
Okay. This one gets that extra second that the other slides did not get.
Pixel launches Community Hub and Bounty Board. I guess this is the update together with the thing that they were doing, open sourcing the game, and this is going to be the launcher for community experiences. This is what I was looking for a few weeks ago that was missing to the announcement. So they now have this, and we can now select the experiences that we want to have on Pixels. awesome. That is great. And you can check
Lovely.
it out on their website. And then we're going to move on to the next slide. And I think that is going to be the end of it.
Catching on, boys. He's catching on.
That is going to be the end of it. Awesome. And I think we are done for tonight. It was a great conversation. There was a lot of things to unpack with that conversation, and we were able to do so. I'm happy to have both our guests tonight. And holy shit, why are we fucking showing this fucking thing again?
Trailer for everybody. The game will be out next. The game might be out next week, so you better watch this shit. Is there the sound?
The game will be out next week. What the fuck?
Sorry, there's no sound, so I'm. Let's replay with the sound.
Okay.
Play it again with the sound. No, let's do it proper.
There you go. This trailer is high quality, though. See that? Okay. Oop. Dramatic. What the fuck? Nomgar Clash.
Let's fucking go. I need to start sweeping some Ragmon NFTs so I can burn them to play the game. Let's go.
I believe in start getting a new mic. Yep, that's the tweet right there. Nomgar will do it. Fuck, Bruce, you're putting us on the spot. But yes, thank you so much for everyone that jumped in and joined us tonight. It was awesome. We didn't do a lot. We smiled a lot, but we got a lot of, I guess, hope and belief. And with somewhat like the bull market running around the corner, this might be something. There might be something in here. So yes, if you still believe in Ronin, yes, join us.
Yeah.
In sniffing
See
this
you next week. See you next week for Indes. And it's yet to be confirmed, but he's DM me saying he's keen. So it's next week.
Yeah, that's locked in already, and we're gonna have Indes next week. We're gonna be talking about Axie Classic and where it's headed. But yeah, thank you so much again for joining. And this has been Gunlock, and together with my lovely co-host that is on Portrait View, Stark, we bid you goodbye.
Next week, let me check the date. I should be back home, but now that I've said that, I might be in an airport, which will be even worse. Let's go.
Well, it's only Indes anyway, so fuck it, man. All right, see you guys next week. Same time, same channel. Ronin Radio out. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Listen, yo, Ronin Radio on the mains, you get me? We connecting the whole chain, no delays, we're ahead of the game. This ain't just pixels, it's a digital frontier. Got the ecosystem locked in, crystal clear. Every single update, we're the first to bring it. Block by block, hear the community singing. Ronin Radio, the new meta. Ronin Radio, stay connected.
Not a chance that I can't hear any of you fuckers right now, and you actually are.
Ronin Radio on the mains, you get me? We connecting the whole chain, no delays, we're